And welcome in, everybody, to the Last Row Podcast, a fan's perspective on sports. It's Brian here inside the ARM Media Solutions Studios on this Wednesday, March the 11th, 2026. Hope you are well. Hope you are happy wherever it is you may be listening to us tonight. Whether that is on Apple Podcasts or through Spotify, we greatly appreciate you being with us. Big thanks to our sponsors, I Know a Guy Remodeling, as well as Forever Finds Thrift. We appreciate both of them. We'll hear from I Know a Guy Remodeling here in just a little bit. Big thanks to our parent company, ARM Media Solutions, for their continued support of the podcast. You can check us out on our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. You can also check us out on our socials, where you can find links to the website as well as to our sponsors. Check us out on Twitter or X at lastrowpodcast.com. You can check us out on TikTok and or TikTok Live at last.row.podcast. Make sure you follow us on Amazon Podcast as well as on YouTube Live, where we are streaming just like we are streaming on TikTok Live every single night, coast to coast, sea to shining sea, and around the world. So, what do we want to talk about tonight? Well, let's talk about Maxx Crosby and the trade that didn't go down, the biggest non-trade ever, I guess we could call it, and what that means right now, at least, for the NFL, and how the NFL can get their PR machine around this, and more importantly, how they can potentially learn from this, because let's just be honest here. This is a problem for the NFL. And the fact that, and realistically, look, let's just call it what it is here. The fact that you have a multitude of teams that were interested, heard that he was getting traded a week ago on Friday, and then, without question, moved on to a different platform, if you will, to a different need or a different player. And when that happens, then you spend money. And when you spend money, you don't have money to sign other players. So, let's just call this what this is. We could call this a screw job. We could call this a snow job, snowball, whatever you want to call it. Look, the NFL is big enough, yet it's small enough, with the fact that you have enough information going around that you know whether or not a guy is truly healthy. And there was information out there about Maxx Crosby's leg. And there was information out there regarding his potential availability, what it might be moving forward, so on and so forth. And I'm just going to tell you what, from everything that's being reported and that's been reported over the last 24 hours, it certainly looks like Baltimore got cold feet. Baltimore got cold feet, and they backed out. Now, I know that they had stated tonight with Eric DeCosta's press conference, press availability, whatever you want to call it. And Diana Russini from The Athletic reported it last night, or actually earlier this morning. It's been made clear by multiple people around the NFL at all levels that Baltimore had all the information and understood where Maxx Crosby's knee was in terms of recovery timeline. Many in the league believe GM Eric DeCosta and the Ravens ultimately just got cold feet. Well, look, we just mentioned that, and now we have multiple people throughout the league telling us that. So, with that, Baltimore's reputation, specifically with Eric DeCosta, is not very high in the league. And anymore, after this, you're going to have a number of issues with anybody trusting Baltimore when it comes to working out trades, when it comes to working out any type of arrangement for a deal, whether that's draft picks, whether that is player for player, any type of negotiation with Baltimore, there's always going to be a cloud hovering over them. And rightfully so. And with that cloud hovering above them, you're going to have players and you're going to have teams that don't want to deal with Baltimore. And I don't blame them one bit. After everything that went down between Friday and Tuesday, are you going to tell me that somebody in Baltimore's front office went, wait a minute, you know what? We don't really know everything on the knee. We don't know everything on the knee. Come on now. I think what realistically happened was somebody said, hey, Eric, what about this? What if we fail his physical? We get the draft picks back, and then we sign Trey Hendrickson. We said it last night. And now look what happened. Bright and early this morning, who does Baltimore sign? Trey Hendrickson. Now, if you don't think there's any type of dirty pool going on here, then that right there should have been your clue. And you're queuing for it. Because how Baltimore did Vegas dirty like that is absolutely insane to me. And realistically, shouldn't be allowed by the NFL. Should not be allowed by the NFL. And if that's the case, and if all of a sudden you have teams backing out of trades left and right. Now, look, I understand if a guy absolutely doesn't pass a physical. I completely understand that. I get it. I respect it. But if you're going to tell me that, we just didn't feel good about the medical, then don't make the trade. It's that simple. Then your reputation doesn't take a huge hit. But of course, Baltimore has to go through with the trade. Baltimore then has to tell the league why exactly it's not going through with the trade. And then they trot out their general manager, whatever you want to call him, but they trot him out, and he says a canned statement of, "Look, we weren't comfortable, with the return, giving up the 2-1s to get him. That was too much for, our doctors looked at it. We had multiple doctors look at it. Yeah, look, you had you knew doggone well prior to this happening. And yet you went through and you then went and signed or had Vegas sign all these different players only to have them within 12 hours of the league year starting say, oh, you know what? Yeah, it's the darndest thing. He didn't pass the physical. Yeah, his knee's just not in. We're just not comfortable with that. We're backing out of the trade. And now you have Vegas angry. You have many in the NFL angry. You have people on the NFL's own network angry. And quite honestly, there's no excuse. Baltimore got very cold feet. And Baltimore had a chance to, realistically do what they needed to do. And they could have made, they were banking on him, on Max Crosby being there. They could have even tried to have signed Trey Hendrickson with Crosby. And that was what Eric DeCosta said what they were going to do. They were going to try to do that. No, they weren't. Let's be honest here. When they had the opportunity to sign Trey Hendrickson, get back their draft picks, and back out of the trade, guess what? That's exactly what they did. they did Vegas dirty last night by doing that. And quite honestly, I don't know if a draft pick needs to be taken away. I don't know what needs to happen, but the league needs to intervene. And I don't honestly care where he ends up, truthfully. If he stays in Vegas, great. Good for Max Crosby. They're going to work out a deal. They're going to work out how he can stay there. Because by all accounts, Vegas is banking on him being there at this point. Although, per Adam Schefter, as of 8 a.m. this morning, they were receiving calls throughout the night. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But the fact that you have Vegas now with all of these different players, plus an additional $30 million more on their cap, which, look, they could very easily convert to a signing bonus for Max Crosby and not have it be as big of a hit. Okay? Any team that trades for him can do that. That's one of the things that the Chicago Bears have been rumored about doing, is if they make the trade for Crosby, it's going to be because they're able to then make a deal where they restructure his contract, and then from there, you're golden. And it doesn't hit this. And I will just say this. Within multiple league circles, there are people that think that if Crosby gets traded, it's going to be to Chicago because you have Dallas trading away one of their big defensive linemen tonight to the 49ers. That knocks out the 49ers. Philadelphia has been rumored to be targeting Jonathan Allen. If that happens, they're out. That leaves Chicago and Vegas to try to work out a deal, or maybe even Buffalo. There's been rumors. Look, if he, meaning Max Crosby, goes anywhere, I think it's if he goes anywhere, and that's a big if at this point. I think it's going to be to Chicago. I truly do, because I think Baltimore truly screwed themselves royally here moving forward. As long as even if they were to get rid of Eric DeCosta, okay, even if they were to get rid of Eric DeCosta, I truly believe that until that owner is gone, there's going to be bad feelings in the NFL. And you want to talk about how the NFL is a good old boys club, right? And you talk about the hierarchy within the NFL. And what I mean by that is the owners that have been around, the McCaskies, the Rooneys, the Maras, the Tisch family, all of those, the Hunt family, Jerry Jones, the Crafts. It's a real cliquish league, and if they want to, gang up on Baltimore and say, hey, don't do business with them. Don't do business with them. Guess what? Nobody's going to do business with them. And they're going to wait Baltimore out. They're going to wait Baltimore out until they either get a new owner or until financially something happens. That's just how cliquish the NFL is. So, again, with that being said, Chicago has the opportunity. They have a second chance. Whether or not they do anything with it, that remains to be seen. Because, look, if the medicals are truly that bad, and I've heard from different orthopedic people all day today, whether it be on 104.3 The Score, whether it be on ESPN, whether it be on NFL Network, and all of these orthopedic surgeons say the same thing, that, look, if the knee is bad enough that means that for the short term, you'll be fine. The long-term return on it, you don't know because there could be arthritis that forms. There's an incredible amount of variables, that could happen. And with that, there's the opportunity that he may not be around for a long time. You might have him for 2 years of being real Max Crosby, and then that's it. So there's a good chance that if his knee is as bad as what's being reported and what's being rumored, then there's absolutely no way Vegas will be able to get 2-1s for him. And I don't think at this point in time, now that it's leaked out about how bad it is, I don't believe that Vegas will be able to get 2-1s for him. I think maybe if I'm Chicago, I offer a 1. Maybe I offer a 1 and a conditional next year, but that's it. And if that's not good enough and he ends up going to Philadelphia, Dallas, Buffalo, wherever, staying in Vegas, you know what? More power to him. More power to him because, at that point in time, you're not going to have Max Crosby for the long haul. And I believe Chicago is looking at this in terms of, yes, could we win now if we have Max Crosby? Sure, absolutely. Could we win down the road without Max Crosby? Yes. And so I have to wonder what they're going to do. I have to wonder what the Bears are thinking. I have to wonder, honestly, what Philly is thinking. Look, there have been rumors all day about Philadelphia trying to maybe make a move, trying to trade Jalen Carter. There's been reports about Dallas, of course, trying to make a move for him. Chicago, of course, being on there. Dallas said yesterday they were good with Rashawn Gary. Now, I don't trust Jerry Jones one bit. I'll just be honest. If you've watched the Netflix documentary, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The Lions were a rumor, but I'll say this much about Detroit. If Detroit were to pull it off and the Bears miss out, there's going to be a lot of angry Bears fans because let's just say it costs a 1. Let's just say that. If it costs a first-round pick in 2026 and Detroit gets him and Chicago doesn't and Chicago offers it, you're going to have people in Chicago looking at Ryan Poles saying, why didn't you offer a conditional draft pick? And yeah, Crosby and Hutchinson, absolutely terrifying. No question about it. The problem is you don't have an offense at that point in Detroit. You've got Jared Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. You signed a really bad left tackle in Larry Borom. Honestly, I don't think it would go well for Detroit at that point. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. So, Monty, how do you reconcile killing bait for voiding trade and then offering less because Crosby's knee? Look, I don't know how Baltimore got away with it. I don't know how they got away with it. I don't know how they were able to convince, and I'm going to use that term in air quotes, convince the league that, look, it's a bad knee. He's got a bad knee. And, again, I truly think that, look, there were reports that were out today that said that while Crosby was in Baltimore, some of the Ravens brass was talking to Trey Hendrickson's agent because they knew ultimately they were gonna bail on it, and they wanted to see what his availability was, and what the price would be, and if he would be interested in Baltimore. And when he said yes to being interested in Baltimore, that was all it took. Then, all right, let's figure out how to get out of this contract and this trade. Let's figure out how we can, we can sign Hendrickson. We can get our draft picks back. And you know what? We can just say, hey, he didn't pass physical. That's all on the table. Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, I think you would. I don't think you're going to be able to get a first round. I mean, 2 first rounders for him, Monty. Now that it's out there that his knee is that bad, I think that's the problem. Is that because how everything went down? Um, it's not. You know, you because of how bad that knee is, there's no way that's going to be too steep for a guy that's going to be around maybe 2 years. Maybe 2. Let's be honest. So, I think if somebody offers Vegas a 1 and a conditional draft pick, I think that gets it done. Whether it's Chicago, Buffalo, San Francisco, whomever. I think they get it done that way. Or the other thought is that he stays in Vegas. And if he stays in Vegas, again, they can work through things and they can restructure the deal to where it's not a big cap hit this year and next year. Look, if he stays in Vegas, look, I'm sorry to say this, they're not going to be relevant. I'm not killing them. I'm not killing Baltimore for voiding the trade if the knee is bad. What I'm saying is Baltimore had all the medicals just like every other team does. Every other team, if they know that a guy's available, they're going to get the medicals on him. What I'm saying is Baltimore, figured out that, hey, you know what? We could get, the same type of pass rush here with Trey Hendrickson. We could say he failed the physical. Because every doctor, you're going to have you're going to have 32 different opinions. What one team doctor says, another team doctor may disagree with and may say, "Oh, you know what? It's not that bad. He'll be fine come June." Or you might have multiple team doctors that say, "Oh, you know what? That's not good. That's not good." Or you might say, "Oh, yeah, it's okay. It's not bad. He'll be fine for the short term." But then, after the short term, we have to see how the knee responds. Down the road, will he have arthritis or something? Sure. Yeah, but you know what? You can get by. You can get by with 3 years with him. And then at that point in time, it's up to the team. But I think what Baltimore did was dirty. I think what Baltimore did was they already knew that every team in the NFL, and Monty, I mentioned it as the show started tonight, that there were Diana Rossini from The Athletic said that all of the teams had the medicals on it. And when you have the medicals on it, you know what's going through or what's happening. So it's really about getting, having faith in what your doctors say, theoretically. But in this case, Baltimore went, well, you know what? Our doctor and the Cowboys doctor is saying this, and you know what? Trey Hendrickson earlier today said that he'd be interested in playing here, and we could, what we could do? We could say he doesn't pass the physical, and then he could, we'd get our draft picks back. We sign Hendrickson for cheaper, and then, you know what? We're out from this. And that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did. And it's just not good. And again, I truly think that it's just not a good look for Baltimore. It's not a good look for the legal tampering period. I think honestly what needs to happen, and this is just me, soon as the Super Bowl is over, it's free agency. Let free agency happen. Let teams talk to whomever they want. You don't need to have legal tampering. You don't, let's be honest here. It's a 365-day league anymore in the NFL. And if you give it a week after the Super Bowl, and then guess what? It's free agency until the draft. Once the draft is done, you got training camp, so on and so forth. So, I just think that there are multiple teams that now might be back in on Crosby that weren't before, and it's because of how Baltimore did them dirty. I mean, let's just call it what it is here. Baltimore got cold feet, and that's what it is. Per Diana Rossini of The Athletic on Twitter, as part of the proposed trade for Max Crosby, the Ravens were also prepared to sign him to a revised contract that would have paid him near the top of the pass rushers market. Agent C.J. LeBoy, who is Max Crosby's agent, responded with 2 words, quote, fake news. It's unclear what part of the report, and this is from Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, is allegedly fake. Many expected an adjustment to Crosby's deal, given the Ravens would have inherited 4 years at $116 million, an average annual payout of $29 million. That's well below the top of the market, which is currently $46.5 million. So what's near the top? 45, 44 million? So again, and Monty, you're right. The NFL wants to be relevant every month, every single month. And look, because of how much money they bring in every year, with now more streaming rights and more availability to streaming platforms, there's no reason why they can't. So for the teams like Vegas and the teams like, Dallas that have tradable commodities, at this point in time now, guess what? Those tradable commodities could be moved earlier. And in my opinion, they should be moved earlier because it keeps news going. It keeps the NFL relevant all year round. Now, the issue here for Crosby is he said his goodbyes to Vegas. He did everything the right way. According to reports, the team is willing to welcome him back with open arms. He was back, per Mike Florio earlier today, he was back in the Vegas training facility at 6 a.m. local time and was and was getting treatment and ready, willing, and able to do whatever he can or whatever he could. So with that, it is absolute craziness that he could stay in Vegas and finish out his career there, realistically, and not ever have a chance to play for a Super Bowl. And look, all because Baltimore did Vegas dirty. And I don't know if there's an issue between Mark Davis and Steve Bisconti, the owner of the Ravens. I'm not sure, but I'm sure there is now. And again, with all of the different options that are out there currently for Crosby, his best option now may be to stay with Vegas and not even test the market. Who knows? We'll have to see. But I think what Baltimore did was slimy and was dirty. And I know most people in our TikTok chat feel the same way. It doesn't make Baltimore look very good. It doesn't make Eric DeCosta look good at all. I'll tell you who it makes look really good. John Harbaugh. Because Harbaugh was the staple. Harbaugh was the guy there in Baltimore that, would absolutely he would step to the microphone. He would take accountability for things. Eric DeCosta tonight, if you watch that press conference, that was so rehearsed, that was so pre-planned. That's PR 101. And he absolutely just completely he made it look worse tonight, in my opinion. So we'll have to see. Next year, the Super Bowl is on it's on Valentine's Day next year. It's actually on Valentine's Day. But yes, it's President's Day weekend. I'll say this much. I want the NFL to put the Super Bowl on a Saturday. That way you've got Sunday to recover. Because putting it on a Sunday and having it go until, 9:30, 10 o'clock, for those of us that aren't fortunate enough to be off of work that day, it's horrible. It's absolutely awful. So put the Super Bowl on a Saturday. College football's done it. You've done it now in the NFL. Put it on a Saturday. Get even more ratings. Get even more money. I mean, think about it. Super Bowl Saturday. That would be ideal. That would be wonderful. You could do the Hall of Fame the night before or whatever, and everything would be fine. So, again, just a hunch I have. Real quick, if I may, before we get to our friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling. Tom Pelissero, about a half hour ago, just spoke to Kyler Murray's agent, Eric Burkhart, who tells me Murray plans to Zoom tonight and tomorrow with executives from 3 to 5 teams that potentially have a QB need in 2027, a chance to reintroduce himself to people he hasn't seen since the 2019 draft and get a start on his free agent process a year from now. In the meantime, Murray and Burkhart are flying to Minnesota tonight and plan to meet with the Vikings on Thursday. The Cardinals still owe Murray $36.8 million fully guaranteed, which is subject to offsets. So if all goes well, a 1-year minimum deal could come together quickly. So we'll see if Kyler Murray ends up in Minnesota. We will have to see what happens with that. We'll have to see if Crosby gets dealt, and if so, where it's going to be. Again, I think if he goes anywhere, it's going to be Chicago, but we'll have to see. And again, look, let's see what happens, because honestly, it is absolutely incredible to see how the NFL drama has really taken over the sports lexicon as we know it. In the middle of championship week, right before Selection Sunday. So I wonder now if Vegas holds on to Crosby till the draft. If they trade him sooner than that, great. If they, whatever they need to do and however they need to do it. But the NFL has got the NFL has they've got a soap opera on their hands, and I'm not sure they wanted the soap opera. So, all right, let's take a quick timeout. We're going to hear from our good friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling. And from there, we'll come back with more here on the Last Row Podcast. It's March. Brackets are everywhere. Upsets, Cinderella runs. Everybody thinks they've built the perfect lineup. But let me ask you a question. If your house had a bracket, would your kitchen even make it past the first round? Is your bathroom a 16 seed hanging by a thread? Listen, championships aren't built on hope. They're built on strong foundations. And when it's time to upgrade your starting five, new cabinets, new tiles, finished basements, you don't draw the play up yourself. You call the experts. I Know a Guy Remodeling. No busted brackets, no blown leads. Just clutch performance when it matters most. Because in this house, we don't rebuild to compete. We rebuild to win. You can check out a link to their Facebook page on our website, www.lastrowpodcast.com. Because everybody deserves to know a guy. And now you do. I Know a Guy Remodeling. All right, welcome back into the Last Row Podcast, a fan's perspective on sports. Yes, Murph, that was one of the the memes or the GIFs, whatever you want to call it, making the uh, way around social media today. And yeah, I mean, look, I'll be honest. It's incredible. I mean, it's really incredible how much that kind of mimics where things are at. Um, so yeah, let's go ahead and let's take a look now, if we can, at. Let's talk here about the World Baseball Classic from last night, because let's just be honest here. Now, the U.S. has already been gifted a second life thanks to Italy tonight putting up 4 runs or more against Mexico. That game currently going on. I believe the last I saw was Italy was up 9-1 or 8-1. Look, let's just be clear here. The USA got very lucky, and Mark DeRosa, who yesterday really did a bad look. He what he did was not good. Was not good. And yes, John, I did see that, the hat trick. Yes, I will say this much about Mark DeRosa: he being a man of the media and a really a well respected player for the most part in Major League Baseball. The issue that I have right now is that DeRosa claims that he misspoke and says, "Oh, I misspoke about this," and yada yada yada. And look, you can misspeak all you want. The fact is, you didn't know where you ranked. You didn't know what you needed. And so when you turned in your lineup card, you put the American team in a really bad position. And with that, they were absolutely, I mean, they've been on pins and needles all day. Let's just call it what it is. And they need to get themselves right because they will play Team Canada next. And I thought that, honestly, I thought that with the U.S. loss last night, I mean, look, they looked so defeated in the dugout. It was like they didn't care. And again, I that's a problem in my eyes. When you have all of these other teams like Italy, like Canada, Mexico, that really are treating this like the World Cup of baseball. I mean, that's what this is. And look, I will say this much. In watching that game last night, Pete Crow Armstrong from the Chicago Cubs did everything he could to keep the team in it. And when he hit that home run, and that place went nuts in Houston, oh my word. You want to talk about an atmosphere. That was incredible. The pop that he got from the crowd, I mean, was just absolutely incredible. And I was so happy for Armstrong because he's such a good young kid. And he's got a lot. I mean, look, he is without question, he's a 5-tool player. He can hit for power, he can hit for average, he can play the field, he can play defense. I mean, he's the total package. And because he plays in Chicago, there's a media market there that loves him already, that if he has another big year this year, watch out. Because he, along with Connor Bedard, we've already seen the budding friendship between he and Caleb Williams. Those two have become inseparable in terms of going to different games together, hanging out. Those guys right there, along with Modest Buzelis and Connor Bedard, Chicago's got another, 4 horsemen type of group. And Pete Crow Armstrong is, I think, Murph, I agree with you. I think, look, if he continues to ascend the way that he can, he will absolutely be a future MVP. Yes, yes, Murph. His mom is Henry Rowengartner's mom. Yeah, and that trade by the Mets, look, I mean, he was part of the Javi Baez trade, I believe. Was it Javi Baez that got dealt to the Mets for PCA? Anyway, no, Monty, DeRosa was selected by a committee, and honestly, I don't believe that. I don't believe after this go around he's going to be the manager afterwards. I think he's going to. I'm sure he'll just go back to being a regular everyday analyst. I will say this much too. A year ago when they lost to Japan in the finals, oh, Mark DeRosa did such a great job. Oh, he's a future manager in this game. No, he's not. They didn't win. As far as I'm concerned, nope. And the fact that he misspoke about it, nope, that's a problem. That's a problem in my eyes because then you don't know okay, put it this way for D-Row, okay? And look, I loved DeRosa when he was with the Cubs. I loved him. But put it in this way, it's situational hitting, right? You have to know, KYP, know your personnel. Know who's on first. If you've got a catcher on first, you're not going to lay a bunt down to try to move him over. No, you're going to try to, rip the ball to right field to get him over to second and do something. You're not going to try to bunt him and sacrifice him over. Absolutely not. So you've got to know the situation. You've got to know, especially when you're on the media and when you're in the media. Look, you have to be prepped for this stuff. And the fact that he wasn't, that looks bad. That looks bad. No, and I don't agree with you, Lego. I don't agree with you because, look, this is the Olympics for baseball at this point. They're hoping for 2028 in Los Angeles that they can get baseball back in the Olympics. I kind of hope they do too. But, look, I think they should have gone, honestly, I think they should have gone with, somebody like Dave Roberts or, maybe Joe Girardi or, somebody like that. Somebody that's managed in a big market. That Joe Madden, I mean, somebody that knows situational baseball, and more importantly, knows how to handle the media because they're not a member of the media, if that makes sense. Girardi, obviously, he's a member of the media. But he understands how to play the game. Exactly, Reagan. If flag football can get there and they have NFL players play there, then you know what? There's no reason why baseball can't do it. Yeah, Mattingly could have been there. Absolutely. Girardi, sure. I mean, you've got Dusty Baker managing, I think it's Nicaragua. I mean, you've got a World Series manager managing the Nicaraguan team. And yet we have Mark DeRosa. Nobody sees a problem with that? So, look, I feel that, yeah, I mean, look, absolutely, Murph, I agree with you. Yeah. Terry Francona, absolutely, he could have done it. Yeah, I'm not so sure about Ron Washington, Reagan. Not so sure about that. But be that as it may. All right, currently I am watching the SEC tournament with South Carolina against Oklahoma. And Oklahoma has struggled tonight all night long. They are down currently by 9. South Carolina is outplaying them every way, shape, and form. And there's that. I know earlier on there was an upset of epic proportions with, let me see here. Texas lost. That's who it was. It was Texas. and that was as big a shock to me as we've seen so far in the championship week. Yeah, I saw that, John. Yep, TCU and Oklahoma State, absolutely. You've got Florida A&M right now over Jackson State. You've got UC San Diego and Cal Poly locked up at 43-42. Georgetown right now with a 2-point lead over DePaul. Come on, Blue Demons. In the Big East tournament. Clemson all over Wake Forest, 37-23. Oklahoma TCU, as we talked about. And then we've got other action happening here later tonight. Let's see here real quick. You've got Rutgers and Minnesota currently in the Big Ten, 38-36 right now in favor of Rutgers. Let's see here. Temple and Florida Atlantic are underway, 28-25 Florida Atlantic. Let's see. Iowa State over Arizona State in the Big 12. You had Louisville over SMU. St. Bonaventures, the Bonnies. The Bonnies keep winning in the A-10, 99-80 over LaSalle. Iowa over Maryland. North Carolina State over Pittsburgh. Kentucky over LSU. Let's see here. Loyola Chicago, the Ramblers, for doing it for Sister Jean. Over Richmond, 75-67. Washington over USC in the Big Ten, 83-79. Auburn over Mississippi State. UCF over Cincinnati. Providence over Butler. McNeese over Stephen F. Austin. Nevada over Air Force. Delaware State over Morgan State. Missouri State over Liberty. That was a big win. Yeah, I did see that. I did see the Kansas State interim coach. Yeah, he won't coach again. Yeah, DePaul does have a really good coach, Monty. I agree with you. I think they're on the up and up now. Which is good. Northwestern, Chris Collins in the second round, getting by Indiana. Xavier over Marquette. Ole Miss with the upset over Texas. That was big. I don't think people saw that coming, especially Texas didn't. Lehigh over Boston University. BYU defeats West Virginia. Tulane over Memphis. And Florida State over Cal. I am so excited championship week is here. And I will just tell you why. Now, tomorrow there's a plethora of games that will tip off early in the morning with Massachusetts, UMass against Miami of Ohio in the MAC quarters. You've got George Washington against Fordham. In the ACC, you've got North Carolina State against Virginia. In Big East tournament action, you've got Providence against St. John's at 11 a.m. on Peacock. Iowa against Ohio State tomorrow morning in the Big Ten tournament in the third round. You've got Iowa State taking on Texas Tech in the Big 12 quarters. Kentucky against Missouri in the second round of the SEC tournament. Bowling Green against Toledo. Holy Toledo. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Against in the MAC championship quarters. Alabama A&M against Texas Southern. St. Bonaventure against George Mason. Washington versus number 23 Wisconsin. Louisville taking on Miami in the ACC brackets. You've got Seton Hall welcoming in Creighton in that game in the Big East quarter. You've got UCF taking on Arizona in the Big 12. Auburn taking on Tennessee. UNLV versus Utah State. Buffalo versus Akron. Rhode Island versus Duquesne. Nevada versus Grand Canyon. South Carolina State versus Norfolk State. Northwestern against Purdue. Watch for the upset. Just kidding. I don't think Northwestern stands a chance, but you never know. I think Northwestern actually beat them, though, in Evanston. And seeing as how the Big Ten tournament is in Chicago, that might not bode well for Mr. Painter. Ohio against Kent State. Middle Tennessee takes on Louisiana Tech. And then in the ACC, tomorrow night, Florida State taking on Duke. In Big 12 action, you've got BYU taking on Houston. Xavier taking on UConn in Big East quarterfinal action. Ole Miss versus Georgia. SEC tournament round 2. You've got Tulane taking on Charlotte. Loyola versus Davidson. Maryland Eastern taking on North Carolina Central. Arkansas Pine Bluff versus Southern Utah versus UT Arlington, and then some other games that are to be determined, that are waiting on outcomes of tonight. Look, I love this time of year. I truly, truly do. And it's because of the fact it's the unknown. It's the unknown. And I will just say this much, okay? When I was a younger man and worked for ESPN Radio, this was the best time of year because you had games from morning until night. And we literally would cover all of the games, from the major conferences, so on and so forth. And it absolutely was just a joy to be able to do that. Yeah, Reagan, I don't like the brackets. And I'll be honest with you, okay? The the last time I did a bracket was when I was working in sales for a company, and I won it. And everybody got so mad because the former ESPN guy won. I was really the only sports guy there, and they didn't like the fact that I won. So I just, brackets are fine. I know who I think my finals, my one seeds will be, but there's just so much unpredictability because at any point in time, you can have a 16 over a 1. I mean, we saw that happen. Now, the one thing, and this is the nerd in me coming out, okay? The one thing I will tell you that I love is when you get an upset or things like that. When you get the upsets and you have a really excited announcer like Gus Johnson or Kevin Harlan. I love the Kevin Harlan call of was it Furman? Where he says, do I think we see what I think we just saw, or something like that. It's just brilliant. And the video of him with Stan Van Gundy, Furman, yeah, it was just brilliant. I love it. Little side note: Kevin Harlan does like Taco Bell burritos. I know that just because of an interview I heard with him in Chicago. He's a big Taco Bell guy. Anyway, so I love when the upsets happen. The one guy I wish they would bring back is Gus Johnson, just because his excitement level is just so contagious and so infectious. I love it. So I am thoroughly excited about March Madness. I am excited about the fact that we have now look, we're mere days and hours away. Gus is with Fox, yeah. But I'll say this much: when he was with CBS and or TNT, he was so much fun because he was so young, and he's still fun. Don't get me wrong. His calls are absolutely electric. And when he's into a game, oh my God. He and Kevin Harlan, to me, are the cream of the crop in March, as far as I'm concerned. And Kevin Harlan, Kevin Harlan has done this long enough to where he's called enough Super Bowls to where he's called a black cat running down the field for a touchdown. If you've never heard that, go look it up on YouTube. It's absolutely incredible. So Raff, oh my God, I love Bill Raftery. Oh my God, the Onions, I love it. And Jay Billis is great too. I love Billis. I love Grant Hill. Ian Eagle has done a really good job stepping in and replacing Jim Nantz. I'll tell you, a really good young and up-and-coming broadcaster is his son, Noah Eagle, who does football and now is doing basketball for Peacock and NBC. I will just say this. As a Notre Dame homer, I want nothing more than Noah Eagle calling the games for the Irish. I want that set in stone, please, because he is just absolutely brilliant He's just like his dad, and I was wondering about that. Yeah, with poor Boog Shambi got stuck with the coach, with Fran Fraschilla. Um, it I get it. It's bad. I know it's bad. Is that game on ESPNU? I believe it's Oklahoma State, right? Currently, Oklahoma State, and I think it's Big 12. Yeah, yeah. And I mean they're locked in a barn burner right now. Oklahoma State up 46-43 with 2.8 seconds to go in the half. Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Murph. Appreciate that. But again, this time of year with March Madness, I just think it's fantastic. You've got Jamie Dixon as the head coach at TCU. Long storied history there with him, with Pitt. I saw Bobby Hurley today got fired or let go, his contract not being extended by Arizona State. I would not be shocked one bit to see him back on the bench with his brother Danny at UConn. Wouldn't be shocked at all to see that. And look, he did not do a bad job at Arizona State. Yeah, he'd been there for, I think it was 11 years, 11, 12 years. And look, he was, he was over 500 as a head coach. I hated him as a player, just like I hated Christian Laettner. But you know what? I think that that overall, I'm sure he'll get interview options or chances. I'm sure of it. Whether or not he ends up at UConn with his brother again, we'll have to wait and see. But certainly a that's without question a vacancy that will be filled by somebody new, of course, and we'll have to see where Hurley goes. He may end up at Rutgers. He may end up at he could end up at Duke with John Shire. I mean, honestly, if he doesn't go back to UConn, he could go there. He could go anywhere out east. He could go to Syracuse. Yeah, I know he's a Jersey boy. I know. And I don't mean Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons Jersey boy. He, being a East Coaster, he could end up at Syracuse. That would be a very interesting pairing. Bobby Hurley with Syracuse. Yeah, McNamara is is the lead there. I get that, and that's the favorite, if you will, because of big shot Jerry McNamara, in his prime, under Jim Boeheim. And look, I get it, but that's a coach. I tell you what, that's a coach that I'm just going to say this about Jim Boeheim. In terms of the legacy factor of coaches with Dean Smith and Roy Williams and Bill Self and a lot of the coaches, Rick Pitino, Tubby Smith, Jim Boeheim deserves to be right up there. Jim Boeheim deserves to be up there. Mike Krzyzewski, of course, obviously Bobby Knight. But again, it's absolute. I think it's incredible to see that Boeheim doesn't. I mean, he doesn't get talked about a whole lot. And I mean, you think about what he did at Syracuse when he implemented the zone. I mean, that defense. I mean, when they were on, ooh baby, that was a tough program to play. And I'm not necessarily a Boeheim guy either, Reagan. But you know what? You got to give him his dues. You got to give him his props, his flowers, right? I mean, he absolutely was. I mean, I mean, he won a national title. But I mean, I don't know if I would call him underrated, but maybe underappreciated might be a better term for it. Oh, absolutely they were. Jim Calhoun, absolutely, with UConn. Oh my God, yeah. And John, I have to credit you. I don't like the floor either. I like the coloring of it. I don't like that it's glass, isn't it? It's not hardwood, right? I don't know how I feel about that. I don't like it. I mean, okay, I kind of do. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if it's a color thing. I think it's a color thing. I like the gray floor. I think that it stands out to me. Yep, Thompson was good. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, look, back in the day, I mean, you had coaches with personality. I mean, bunch of Hall of Fame coaches from the Big East. I understand that. I get that. I mean, I look at the ACC. You got Dean Smith. You had Roy Williams, Mike Krzyzewski. Um, I look at the SEC. You had Nolan Richardson down at Arkansas. That's a name that I was able to pull out of my out of the back of my Rolodex. Um, at I mean, you just had great coaches. You just had great coaches, and anymore, I don't know necessarily unless if you're the legacy coaches like Bill Self or I mean Rick Pitino. I mean, I don't know really of many other legacy coaches that are still coaching in the game. Um, oh, absolutely they were. They have the personalities, and it all started with Bobby Knight. I mean, he was the absolute, the character of them all. And yeah, I would agree with you. Rick Pitino is the last of the old guard. I mean, you've got I'm blanking on his name now. He's coach at Texas. Oh, he was coach at Texas for a long time. Then he went to Tennessee. Oh, who is it? Rick Barnes. Thank you, Rick Barnes. Um, he's still kind of one of those legacy coaches. Thank you. Um, but yeah, I think Patino, I think Self, those guys are probably the last of the real kind of old guard coaches. I mean, Matt Painter, just because of how long he's been at Purdue, I guess you could include him in that. Um, but I mean, realistically, I mean, you don't have much left. Um, I'm just trying to think of who else. I mean, really is a recognizable household name anymore. And there's not many coaches that are. There's not many coaches that are. Oh, yeah, Mark Few. Yep, Mark Few. Yeah. But I wouldn't even call him a legacy guy. I wouldn't even call him but I guess you have to with how long he's been there at Gonzaga. Yeah, Self we know is. Patino we know is. But again, it's absolutely you don't see enough of those guys anymore. And I think that realistically, I think realistically, it's going to be Izzo, yeah, Izzo, yeah, Tom Izzo. How can I forget my guy, the guy I don't bet against? Um, so, I think again that it's going to be, it's going to be a fun tournament, and I'm excited for Sunday. Now I will be on a little bit later Sunday because of a family commitment that I have. But we'll be on Sunday night, probably usual time, hopefully. But again, we're going to be able to talk about all of the different seating and where things are going to be, and I'm excited. I'm ready to go for it. I sincerely hope it lives up to the hype because I believe that. I mean, realistically, you've got 10 to 12 teams that could win this tournament. Let me rephrase that should be in the mix to win this tournament. Now, could a Cinderella get hot like we did, with George Mason or, LSU from years ago? Absolutely. You could have that. But again, that's the beauty of March. That's why I don't like filling out brackets because I don't like being wrong on things. Ask my wife. So I look for a lot of again I hope it's going to be fun. Murph, that's a bold prediction. You predict only one number one gets to the Final Four. Yeah, Wichita State, one of their guards that's now in the NBA, Fred VanVleet, was from my hometown, and put Wichita State on the map. He absolutely put Wichita State on the map, which was cool. That was cool to see. A kid from our hometown, doing, something big on the national stage. So, which was awesome. Oh, absolutely. They absolutely were, no doubt. Real quick, about 20 minutes ago, Italy 9, Mexico 1, Team USA. This is per Jeff Passan at ESPN. Team USA officially advances to the World Baseball Classic quarterfinals and will face Canada on Friday. Italy, which carved through Pool B, will take on Puerto Rico on Saturday. Fantastic baseball coming up Friday and into the weekend. And then the semis and the finals down in Miami next week. And I am certainly looking forward to that. USA getting a second chance. And I guarantee you Mark DeRosa is going to have, I know he wants to play everybody, but you know what? To quote a great philosopher, you play to win the game. Believe that philosopher was Herman of Edwards, I believe. Anyway, you play to win the game, Mark DeRosa. You put your best lineup out there every single game. Doesn't matter if they're tired. They're professional athletes. And yeah, now it's absolutely win or go home. And if you don't win and you're the United States and you don't get back to the finals and you don't win, oh, is that a problem? Oh, is that a problem? And if you lose on Friday to Canada, ooh, boy, that's a real big problem. That's a real big problem. And then you're going to have the questions from the, the armchair quarterbacks like, myself. Is DeRosa the right guy for this job? No, of course he's not. We already know that. That was evident yesterday. Well, we've already punched our ticket to the quarters. No, you haven't, Mark. No, you haven't. And shame on nobody at MLB Network for telling him, Mark, that's not actually true. So, we'll have to see. I mean, I'm invested now, but I will say this much. Excuse me. I won't be shocked if the U.S. loses on Friday night. I'll just say that. I won't be shocked. Well, and that, John, you bring up a really good point. Chicago White Sox right now are throwing a fit. Chicago White Sox are throwing a fit because Kyle Teel, their catcher, their young star catcher, grade 2 hamstring strain, out 4 to 6 weeks, with realistically being closer to 6. And let's just be honest here, because of how cold it is in Chicago when we start the season, it's going to take a long time for that leg to warm back up. And you don't want to do any permanent damage, obviously, to it. But, yeah, that was a big loss last night for Italy, losing him with that grade 2 hamstring strain. So, again, it is, that's the unfortunate part with oh, my God, Murph, thank you. Thank you so much for buying a Cub hat. Thank you. That's fantastic. Right, yeah. The White Sox might win 60 games versus they might win 60 versus 65 or 72, yeah. I mean, look, I don't think that Will Venable is the guy there on the south side. I just don't. But they've got a nice array of young talent there that I think if they brought the right coach in next year, I think they could contend. And I don't mean Tony La Russa, so don't anybody put that in the chat, please, Murph. But I think if they were to bring in somebody like, I'm using the word like, a Joe Madden, that was analytics-driven, that was a young coach that could connect with players, that's got a proven track record, like a Tito Francona. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, Tito, I think, would be a perfect fit, even though he's managing, I think, already, isn't he? Is he still with, I think, Cincinnati, right? Is he still with Cincinnati? Yeah, he's still with the Reds. Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, look, Monty, here's the thing. Before they hired Will Venable, Ozzie Guillen interviewed and was a finalist again for the job. And I think that Jerry Reinsdorf and Michael Reinsdorf, the owners, they didn't want to have to fire Ozzie if things went south. They didn't want to have to get rid of Ozzie a second time because the Reinsdorfs are very, very loyal. That's why Ozzie Guillen is on the official postgame show of the White Sox for coverage on the Chicago Sports Network. They're very loyal people. That's why for years in the NBA, they didn't fire John Paxson as president of operations. No, he's out of anger management. But look, I'll tell you what. He would bring small ball back, and I guarantee you he'd be successful with it. He'd be successful with it. I mean, that's how they won in 05. Everybody was playing the long ball game, and he went small ball with Scott Podsednik leading off. And that's the way you do it. You put the pressure on the defense, and that's exactly how they do it. Oh, Garpax was awful. They were horrible. But the Reinsdorfs liked John, and they couldn't get rid of John. And they didn't want to get rid of John. And so when it was time for John to walk away, they finally made the move, and they brought in a guy that look. I'll be honest. I don't believe. I didn't think anybody could run the Bulls worse than John Paxson and Gar Forman have. Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley, two guys that were very respected in the NBA. They are getting torn apart right now. And the Bulls keep winning games that they shouldn't, and they're not embracing the full tank mode, and that's going to screw up their draft pick. And it's just another reason why Billy Donovan needs to go. I mean, where are the days of Fred Hoiberg tanking and Vinny Del Negro tanking and Tim Floyd tanking? I mean, let's bring those days back, damn it. No, I'm just kidding, because I love the Bulls too much. I want them to be competitive, but not like this. Oh, I hate Josh Giddey. I can't stand him. Ugh. I love Modest. I love Modest Buzelis. I better watch what I say. I could get reported for bullying again. No, I think he's loyal, Monty. He's super loyal. He didn't want to get rid of Kenny Williams for a long time as baseball president there in Chicago. He's not cheap per se, but he's fiscally and financially responsible, we'll call it. You don't see them spending lots of money on pitchers and long-term deals, and rightfully so, because a pitcher, can throw their arm out at any point in time, which I understand why he doesn't do that. But at the same point in time, they're loyal to a fault, and they don't want to, they think of former players as family, and they don't want to ruffle the feathers of the family type of thing. So, and he absolutely will. You're right. He will. He absolutely will, Reagan, go in on all winners. Absolutely. And Murph, I agree with you. The Bulls need to be relevant again. The Bulls need to be good because A, they're in a major media market. Number two, I mean, look, for most of the 90s, it was the figurehead city of the NBA because you had the greatest player of all time playing there. And and the other part is too, Reagan, is that you have people that continue to buy seats and to go to games and continue to, for lack of a better term, fund the tank job when it's not a tank job. And until people stop going to games, it's not going to matter. Not going to matter. Every year they do. Every year they lead in attendance because people just absolutely don't. I don't know. They like cheap tickets, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, it's been horrible. I hate it. As a guy that was able to witness, Michael, Dennis, and Scotty in person, I was fortunate enough to see that a couple times, and fortunate enough to see the old stadium. Look, there was nothing like those days. And I think Jordan could still play today. I think he still could. He'd still average 20. Maybe not. But I miss those days. Look, I love the days when the Bulls were good like that. And the last time they were relevant, honestly, was Tom Thibodeau. And when they fired Tom Thibodeau, that was it. And I think if they wanted to bring the fan base back and they wanted to compete again, they'd hire Thibs again. That would be the smart play to do, but I don't think they'll do that. All right, that's going to put a bow on this edition of the Last Row Podcast. We will be back with you tomorrow night when we will hopefully have breaking news, potentially regarding Max Crosby, potentially regarding any other big name free agents. And of course, we will be there every single step of the way. I want to thank our good friends over at I Know a Guy Remodeling for their continued support. I want to thank Forever Finds Thrifting for their continued support of the program. I want to thank you, our listeners, wherever you're getting the podcast, whether that is through Apple Podcasts or through Spotify. For those that are joining us on YouTube Live, thank you so much for doing so. For those joining us on TikTok Live, stick around. We've got the overtime coming up. And until tomorrow night, when breaking news changes everything, I'll see you in the last row.